Hello, this is Matt Kendall once again from IEMT Practitioner. You also might know me from what I used to call it, which was IEMT Academy, but it's all moving over to IEMT Practitioner now. I've got Robert Smith with me today. Robert did his training, it was a few months ago, because we're in August now. What month did you do yours? Was it April,
I think it
May?
was in May.
In May.
Yeah.
So he did his practitioner a few months ago. And again, this conversation is just with somebody who's been through the training, who's qualified today, actually, gave you your certificate today. He's done his case studies, which we've just been going through as well. And it's just to give people a real idea of what it's like to learn IEMT and then use IEMT. Got a bit of traffic and stuff out there, which is all cool. So Robert, before we get going, can you give us an introduction to yourself, the work you were doing beforehand, your experience with therapy, the type of clients that you work with?
Right. Well, I have a kind of dual practice where I have half my practice is hands-on work. I help people with physical pain and problems with their body. And the other half is various forms of hypnosis, hypnotherapy, change work, NLP, that type of thing, just helping people unlock these blockages that they've got and get moving forward. So yeah.
And with the physical work, what kind of, is it chiropractic, massage, osteopathy?
It's soft tissue work. The principles are a little bit more osteopathic.
Okay.
It's focusing on understanding spinal dynamics, what's affecting the nerves from the neck down to the tailbone,
cool.
and trying to understand, well, assessing the body and then using soft tissue stimulation to begin to reset things and get it where it's supposed to go.
And is there any sort of particular type of client that you would generally work with, like car crash or?
I can, with the physical stuff, it's really anybody that's been, who's either in acute or chronic pain and who wants a result. With the change work and IEMT and hypnosis and stuff, I think I've kind of cut out a little bit of a niche for working with people who are dealing with various forms of anxiety. Actually was working with people who've had various traumatic events prior to learning IEMT, and that was one of the reasons I wanted to learn IEMT.
Okay, because that brings me on to the next thing.
Yeah.
How did you learn about IEMT? How did you learn about what it was? What kind of research did you do? Right. And why did you decide to come and learn it?
Okay. I had not initially heard about IEMT. I had heard about EMDR in my hypnosis training. And there was a kind of practitioner level training, like with post-diploma training in EMDR. And I had thought about taking it, and I knew some people who had done it. But the more I read about EMDR, I found it extremely, well, the way that they were being taught it, very protocol based and very rigid. And I'd also heard of some people who had abreacted or been left slightly sensitized in a, by somebody who wasn't using the process very structured, and hadn't structured it in the right way.
Okay.
So I held off from that, and then I'd learned other techniques, and I'd been sort of amalgamating other things that I knew into a model of working that I was happy with. And then at a certain point, I was doing some other training, and I met somebody who had studied IEMT with Alan Johnson, and they had said it was very good. And they explained to me the way it was structured. And I thought, oh, that's really interesting. And I liked all the elements that, that fed together into helping bring it together as a technique. And I had initially contacted Alan and organized to do that. And then with the COVID, I wasn't able to attend that. It was in Edinburgh and it was cancelled. And then I had a lot of time on my hands during that period of lockdown. So I was watching a lot of YouTube videos, and I was learning and seeing, maybe I can learn it off YouTube. Maybe I can learn a bit of it off YouTube to see what the functioning parts of it are. What can I learn about it? And I ended up watching some material demonstrations and with yourself, working with a client, and then also some explorative, stuff you'd done, talking around the subject, and also an interview you'd done with Andrew Austin.
Yeah.
And through that little bit of exposure to you, I thought, oh, this guy, really breaks it down. It's very possible I'm going to be doing a lot of training online. Why not do this? So I did. So I booked him a few, and then so that's where we ended up.
Cool.
Yeah.
So, you you become aware of it, then you watch videos through YouTube, started consuming the content, and then
basically,
must have subscribed to either me on Facebook or the group, and then just saw it kind of come up. Yeah, generally people don't often quite know exactly how. It's just that kind of like in the ether. They hear it from other people, and then they start researching, because I put a lot of content out, they start to engage with the content. So we did a 2-day training course, a Saturday and a Sunday, it's about 9:30 to 5, isn't it? What was your experience of going through it? What was it like compared to other types of training courses? What did you think of the content, the delivery, the other people who were on it? Basically everything. How was it going through the 2 days as a whole practitioner?
It was pleasantly surprising. I really didn't know what to expect. It's the first in-depth training I've done over Zoom.
Okay.
I wasn't thrilled about doing it over Zoom because, I just didn't know how the one-to-one was going to be with the practice.
Yeah.
But I was really, really surprised and, pleasantly surprised. I was amazed that the whole concept and sort of infrastructure of the breakout rooms within Zoom actually worked.
Yeah.
And felt natural. Yeah. And it felt just like in a course where you go off to a room with somebody and work through the technique and come back and
just to explain that to people who are watching, basically say I've got 10 people attending, I'll create 5 mini rooms, they'll both go off, and it'll be like this. Essentially, it's just like this, So you've got your own private Zoom room for an allotted amount of time. And then if you need help, you can press a help button, and then it contacts me. And then basically after you've done the technique, you come back into the main room once again. And then we carry on. Yeah.
It was really good. And it really felt that intimacy that you need in order to work with somebody, the one-to-one, and it was good. So that was great. In terms of the content, I kind of knew from the stuff you presented on YouTube that you knew your stuff. So I was expecting that to be good, and it was. But what I did like is that you gave a lot of time for Q&A and just for people, all the breadth of the group to work through the material in the way that they required in order to learn it, which was, really good. Because when you're teaching anything, you're going to have people who are slower, quicker, you're going to have people with different backgrounds. So that was great. So yeah, it's good.
Yeah, I always like to make sure, because everything I do is very segmented. So I think it's about 13 different elements that we do throughout the 2 days. And everything which I do is basically like an introduction, an explanation, a demonstration of some sort. Then you go off and do the thing, and then you come back and we do a review and Q&A. And I want to make sure everybody's up to speed, because then we move on to the next thing. So I want to make sure everyone's up to speed, they know what they're doing, then we move on to the next thing. And how did you find applying the IEMT online with the people in the practice sessions? What experiences did you have? Because a lot of people don't realize how much work they get to do on themselves over the 2 days. And so what was that like, experiencing it and also working with others and seeing, from the demonstrations and also from the breakout sessions, actually seeing the results other people were getting?
Just an amazement at the efficiency and the speed of the response, that it did work well, as long as webcam and so on was aligned. It did work well, and then also, since my training, I have also figured out how to do it with when you haven't got a webcam that's working with somebody as well. So I think there's a lot of options for doing it online, and I've been really surprised of how well it worked. Also, from my own experience, I had an interesting identity issue that I worked through myself. I'm dyslexic, and there's some aspect of the identity of the dyslexic which was also limiting me. And we worked a little bit with that, and that was very interesting how that subtly shifted things for me in terms of my focus and just aspects of my concentration.
Excellent. No, that's really good. Really good. So we did the 2-day course, and then basically to become a practitioner, you then got to submit 2 case studies. I provide all the guides, I provide all the references, and also as well, before the course, you get sent the manual a week in advance, you get some training videos to watch. So by the time you actually get to the weekend, you know quite a lot. And I'm just sort of now, rather than me just reading a manual, I'm doing a presentation on screen. But it's one of those courses that the more you put into it, the more you bring to it, the more you're going to get out of it, and I really want to sort of emphasize that the more you bring to it with the problems you want to work on, the things you want to do, the more you'll actually get. I believe that the more you experience the technique, the better the practitioner it makes you. Because this is a weird thing, no bones about it. Moving somebody's eyes to change memories and emotions and identities is a weird thing. But once you've experienced it quite a lot, because you do about 10 exercises over the couple of days, it makes you better to actually able to explain it to potential clients. So after the weekend, you did your 2 case studies. What was it like applying IEMT to your case studies?
It was great. I found it fascinating how the simplicity of IEMT and the structure of it revealed quickly the structure that underpinned those clients' issues.
Yeah.
Especially when those issues had been well guarded because of their painful or difficult nature.
Yeah.
I was very impressed with how quickly just the movements themselves were like a key that opened the door, and they were right there, primed for working, and then just available to then reprocess and work.
Yeah, and I always say IEMT is an exploration of the problems, not necessarily a solution. It's an exploration, and it can be done as a standalone thing. It also works brilliantly with other stuff: hypnosis, NLP, coaching, talking therapy, transactional analysis, CBT. It worked very well with other things as well. Obviously, without giving any sort of confidential information away, can you sort of tell us some of the people that you've worked with in terms of the, basically the kind of things that you've helped them achieve, what kind of clients you've actually done? Because I know you've probably worked on more clients than just your case studies. So any just sort of standout things that you've helped people to achieve, what their reactions have been like? And
I've helped a number of people dealing with traumatic memories connected to the nature of the death of loved ones. I've dealt with a couple that had to deal with post-trauma connected to accidents in the past where their life was threatened. I have dealt with some straight physiological problems to do with pain or just unexplained anxiety that the IEMT has unlocked and either been the tool that cleared it or part of the skill set that revealed what needed to be dealt with that then helped clear the problem up. What else have I dealt with? Some quite obscure and complicated identity issues. It's been helpful in helping to sort out some stuff to do with body image, sexuality, gender stuff like that.
No, that's becoming
Complex
more relevant and stuff, these days with again, because one of the things we look at is pronouns, and that's something which so it's a very complicated subject, but hopefully can help with people. And when you've been working with people, how have they sort of responded? Because obviously IEMT is a very quick process, and sometimes when you're working with somebody, they've been in therapy for years. So how have they sort of responded to the speed and the results that you're able to get in such a short time?
Sometimes it's quite overwhelming for them. It's quite overwhelming for them to look for something which they've returned to for so many years, and to find it either not accessible or just not triggering. That can be quite overwhelming quite often in a pleasant way, but just a big deal,
So
go on.
So I was going to say, so going forward, what kind of people are you looking to work with? How do you see you using IEMT in your business, and what kind of impact has learning IEMT had on your business as well?
I love it. I like any I really love any tool that provides the kind of opportunity for direct, fast neuroplastic change, mapping of the brain, that just, something that's very empirical, very measurable, and very methodical.
Absolutely.
I already use certain techniques in that way. I've helped a lot of people through trauma using aspects of techniques like rewind techniques that you would use with ways that you're changing the imprint of the memory, and the kinesthetic tags and the associations that are connected to it. So I see IEMT being a very, very useful tool. But the way it's going to change my practice is that it has a fantastic flow and structure to it that allows you to see the gaps where things aren't changing for people, and to adapt flexibly to find the way in. And I think that's where it's added something tremendously. I mean, apart from the cleverness of the eye movements themselves, I think that the way it's structured provides me with much more insight into the way that certain clients may be pushing against the tide of allowing something to happen.
Absolutely. So there's going to be people who, like yourself, are doing research online, looking at IEMT or EMDR or whatever it might be. And they might be wanting to get into therapy. They might be wanting, like yourself, to add this tool into their practice. So from your experience, your outlay to do the course, the time invested and everything like that, the support you've received, what do you have to say to those people who are basically on the fence of whether they're going to come and learn IEMT?
Oh, I would say that the quality of what I have experienced through the delivery of this course has been phenomenal. I mean, in terms of all the post-course materials, the support, but then also all the aftercare and all of the kind of the way that the groups and everything are structured to just very open. If you were interested in it, I would just encourage them to get in touch with you and just chat a little bit, because I've always found you very open to just answering questions and just providing the kind of information that's going to help them make that decision. Yeah.
Brilliant. If anybody wants to come to see you for sessions, obviously online or in person, whatever it might be, where's the best places to find you?
Just go to Robert Smith Hypnosis and Change Work, Robert Smith Hypnosis and Change Work on Facebook, and you can have a little look through my recommendations and the kinds of things that I've worked with. I work in the centre of Glasgow, and I also now, like many people, work online on Zoom. So I'm doing both, and people can get in touch with me anytime.
Thank you very much for your time today. And well, like I say, you're obviously part of the group, because obviously I have a whole sort of support group as well. When people obviously go through the course, and I've just put your certificate in there today, everyone's like going, yay. Because I've been on some courses that once you've sort of attended and have had your money, that's kind of it. And they're not that bothered unless you're going to do the course again. Well, it's my job to make you a practitioner, and not only a practitioner, but a good practitioner who uses this. Because I get a lot of referral work as well from people who've already done the course. They obviously refer new people in. But I like IEMT as a whole movement. There's lots of great stuff going on at the association with the terms of the qualification, the content and everything. So yeah, I do give like an lot of aftercare support, because I can work with my own clients, or I can train people who can work with many, many, many more. So thank you for your time, and I will see you later.
Cheers.